You know, part of me wanting to do these videos and this type of thing is to have some fun, of course, but to also do my best to talk from my experiences and from who I am as a person, and maybe and in those kinds of conversations and those kinds of talks, maybe help somebody out there, or maybe teach somebody, or enlighten somebody as to different thought processes. And one of those things that comes along my way a lot, that I hear a lot about myself, and something that I hold dear. It's not something that I try to do or something that I look to be honored for or anything like that, but um, the word is loyalty. And I think that, um, in today's day and age, it's a rare quality to find in people these days. And it's nobody's really to blame. It's just the way society has gone over the years, and the generations now and those coming up. Loyalty is not something that is preached a lot, and so it's rare when you come across it, but you know it when you find it. Uh, you know, all these big box retailers and fast food outlets and coffee shops and all of these things, they offer these loyalty cards, these loyalty programs, to entice customers to come back, and they spend millions and millions of dollars for these campaigns and for the advertising. And it's they got to make this extra effort because people will change locations, change restaurants, change the coffee they drink in an instant. If they just find one thing wrong, if something happens somewhere, if the wind blows in the right direction, they're gone. And the same can be said for workplaces, for schools, for sports teams, professional athletes. The NBA is a joke now because of that kind of thing. Even in church, um, I remember working my previous job, and it was for one of the bigger banks in Canada, and they had. I was part of the training and development department within the call center, and so the one thing that they had started teaching and being and preparing leaders for and managers was for the extremely high turnaround rate. And it's just because as the generations get younger, I mean, they expect so much so quickly. Even if they've been only on the job for 6 months, they're expecting pay raises and perks and benefits and things like that. And when they don't get them, they leave. Um, and so a lack of loyalty can be attributed to that as well. And there's a lot of things that can be attributed to it, but it's something that it means a lot to me, and it means a lot, and I'm very grateful that it's a word that's associated with my name. Um, so what can I say towards that? I don't know if it's something that can be taught, or if it's just something that's inherited, or if it's just you're born with it. I don't have that answer, but I do believe that it can be learned, and I do believe that to be loyal to something or to someone is very important, and it's very special. So what I did was, rather than just going off based what I know, or what I believe in and anything like that, I also wanted to take the opportunity to check out other resources, and specifically the dictionary. And so shout outs to thedictionary.com. I got that on my phone right here. And so the term loyalty, there's actually three definitions attributed with it. And so they say this: number one, the state or quality of being loyal, faithfulness to commitments or obligations. Number two, faithful adherence to a sovereign government, leader, or cause, etc., etc. And number three, an example or existence of faithfulness, adherence, or the like. So, like, to me, there's in all three of those definitions, the word faith, or a form of it, shows up as well. And I think where I am at in life right now, that has a huge role to play with it. And so, as I mentioned in previous videos, me being a Christian and being a man of God and doing my best in that capacity, it's very interesting to me that the words loyalty and faithfulness or faith go hand in hand. And of course, in my own personal life, my number one adherence of loyalty to anyone or anything is to my God, is to Jesus. And, secondly would be my family, my wife, my family, and then, church and friends and all of those kinds of things. And, so it's very interesting to me that those words would go hand in hand with each other. And then so naturally I'm inclined to just share what I believe in and some stories that I know about. And so, in the Bible, for example, there's stories of a guy named David and his friend Jonathan, and it's an incredible account of loyalty and love for a brother. And it's just an amazing story. And then the other one is the story of Ruth and Naomi. And at one point, Naomi asks Ruth to leave her alone, and Ruth goes on to say that where you go, I'll go, and whoever your God is my God, and where you die, I will die. And it's another incredible story of just loyalty and to the point of death. I mean, I don't even know if I would go that far, and people would say I'm a loyal person, but there is in the word, there is one thing, and I don't want to bring it I don't want to take it to a preaching thing, but it's definitely not about that. But in the Bible, for those who believe and for those who don't, maybe this will help, but in 1 Corinthians 16, it says this in verse 13 and 14. It says, "Be on guard, stand firm in the faith, be courageous, be strong, and do everything with love." And in all honesty, that's who and what I try to be every single day. And it doesn't matter where I find myself. If I'm driving on the street and I see somebody stuck, if I'm at my job at church, I'm at home with my incredible family, that's what I try to do. I try to operate out of love, and if I can help, I will. And over the years, that has been my MO, and loyalty comes along with that. Loyalty, now there has to be something to be loyal to, and there's good things and bad things to be loyal to. But once somebody catches on with whatever that thing is, and they are going to be loyal to it, they've got to believe in it, they've got to love it, they've got to want it. It's a whole gambit of things. But once you find somebody who's loyal, you know it. And on that same note, I would also like to just take a second. There's good loyalty and there's bad loyalty. And even at this point in my life, I had to sit with my wife Mel, and we had to sit at one point and look at, am I being too loyal? Is the loyalty causing too much stress in my life? And whatever's being asked of me and things like that, I'll just do it because I'm loyal to the cause and loyal to the situation. And so I really had to do a real big self-check as far as that goes. And there's a story I read about a Japanese soldier in World War II. I believe his name was Lieutenant Hiru Onada, if I'm not mistaken. And 1944, when there was the order was released that the Japanese army became allies of the United States, he got the memo, but he didn't believe it. He was under the impression that, I don't know if they were trying to trick him or so on and so forth, but he remained in the field and he did not come home. He did not surrender. And so he was left on an island in the Philippines for upwards of almost 30 years. And over those 30 years, he lived off the land. He stole from people. It says that he killed somewhere in around 30 or more Filipino people over those 30 years. But he remained in his own personal war for 30 years of his life. That was 1944. In 1974, after many attempts to rescue him, they flew planes over the jungle and dropped pamphlets into the jungle looking for him, telling him to surrender and that their part of the war was over. They spent almost, I think they said $500,000 trying to find the guy. 15,000 foot soldiers were trying to find him at one point. They couldn't find him. 30 years. The guy's like Rambo. Um, but he actually did surrender when an order came from his former superior officer, and he surrendered in 1974, 30 years later, and he's quoted as saying nothing good happened in the last 30 years, and so it's just an example of loyalty, not necessarily to the wrong cause. I wouldn't go that far, but loyalty that became detrimental to himself, and so it's always important to be aware of those things, and to always be able to do a self-check and look at yourself and say, am I being loyal to the wrong thing? Is what I believe in a good cause? Is it profitable to myself? Is it doing something good for society, for this world? And I think once you can answer those things and it satisfies you and it's a yes and it's a positive thing, then by all means go for it. But loyalty, I mean, should it be rewarded? Should it be honored? Should it be, sure, that's awesome. But someone who's loyal doesn't care about those things. They only care about the cause, and they only care about serving and helping, and in the case of Ruth and Naomi, doing it to the death. And again, am I that type of guy? I don't know, but I do believe in loyalty. I do believe in working hard, and I believe that in my faith and my faith in Jesus, that I may not see the reward here on this earth and while I'm living on this earth, but I know one day there will be a reward for me in heaven, and that will be the greatest reward I could ever receive.